faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books worldwide. Hi, this is Sally here with the Book Talk. Today we're interpreting the book Feng Zikai's autobiography, My Life. Feng Zikai is one of the most beloved artists in China's modern art history, known as the father of Chinese comics. Actually, besides drawing comics, Feng Zikai also wrote essays, played the violin, translated, and published many books on literature and music, deeply influencing China's modern aesthetic education. Many people love Feng Zikai's paintings and writings, saying he lived like an adult but with a childlike spirit. But in reality, Feng Zikai's life was tough. He lost his father young, faced war in middle age, saw his home destroyed, fled with his family, endured hardships in old age, and died in illness. Despite all this, his works always radiate an innocent, lively, kind, and peaceful charm that fills you with joy. He once said, "This world isn't for the rich or the poor, it's for those with heart." So, how did Feng Zikai find peace in chaos and keep a pure, childlike heart through adversity? Now, let's dive into Feng Zikai's autobiography, My Life, to explore this artist's inner world. Feng Zikai didn't write a formal memoir, but he penned many short articles about his life, plus diaries and family letters. This book reorganizes those pieces chronologically, covering his childhood, youth as an art student, war-torn middle years, and old age. In today's session, we'll follow the book's order to recount Feng Zikai's life, then pick some hobbies and fun stories he highlighted. All right, let's start with Feng Zikai's life story. In 1898, Feng Zikai was born in a small Zhejiang town called Shimenwan, which he dubbed the land of peace and happiness. Yet childhood was his golden age, so what was his early life and hometown really like? The Beijing-Hangzhou Grand Canal bends near northern Hangzhou, and that bend was Feng Zikai's home. Shimenwan town, this is a prosperous town where every household has fish and rice. Feng Zikai said, "My hometown had no barren land. Beyond rice and wheat, seasonal fruits and vegetables flourished year-round, each with unique flavors. Tasting the flavor of something can evoke memories of a season's scenery." The Feng family house stood right by the canal. It was a large courtyard, split into a dye workshop and living quarters. The dye workshop was the family business, small scale and called Feng Tong Yu, meaning shared prosperity for the Feng clan. Feng Zikai lived here with family and relatives, and this communal life in a big family gave him cherished memories. He said the adults often made steamed buns and snacks together. The children played and made merry nearby. Even their fights were joyful. Once, while fighting with a cousin over snacks, Feng Zikai fell and got a deep scar on his forehead. He called this scar a dream scar and wrote in his book, "Who says scars are flaws? I can still vividly recall my lively cousin in those exciting games. This is proof of the joys of my childhood. It's a trace of my golden age." Though the family ran a dye workshop, Feng Zikai's father had little interest in it. He focused entirely on imperial exams, becoming Shimen Wan's first provincial scholar. But due to political turmoil, he never entered government service, instead opening a local private school to teach, which still brought great honor to the family. Feng Zikai said that because of his father, he was respectfully called young master everywhere, and even got extra snacks when shopping. However, the good times didn't last. After his father's death, that treatment vanished. Feng Zikai was 9 when his father died. Though their time was short, it profoundly shaped his life. His father was Feng's first teacher, and Feng was his father's first student. Feng's reading and writing skills came from his father, whose scholarly attention to life's rituals and aesthetics left a lasting impression. He wrote an article about his father eating crabs. For example, the table had to be under moonlight, with a refined process from shelling to dipping sauce to rice paring. He said, looking back, that way of eating tasted truly wonderful. After his father's death, Feng Zikai's mother took on all family responsibilities, different from his father's taste and elegance. Feng's mother was a capable, pragmatic, and strong woman. Although the family had a hereditary dye workshop, she always hoped Feng Zikai could achieve success in imperial exams. She kept her husband's writing tools from his imperial exam days and strictly urged Feng Zikai to study. Until Feng Zikai was 33, in an article recalling his mother, he said that, looking at her portrait, he felt deeply grateful for her kind smile. For the serious light in her eyes, he felt great fear and did not disappoint his mother's hopes. Not disappointing his mother's hopes, Feng Zikai studied well and even published 4 fables in a local children's magazine. In one of them, he told a story about a rabbit hunter who, attracted by a deer, abandoned the rabbit to chase the deer but ended up losing both. And in this fable, he wrote, "When greed arises, good intentions fail. I advise young people not to learn from the hunter." However, compared to reading and writing, Feng Zikai's favorite was painting. He said, "Since childhood, I loved watching clouds in the sky, moss stains on walls, objects on tables, people's faces. My heart would follow these lines and shades, feeling an indescribable emotion. Just as the mouth needs food, the eyes need art." After seeing much, he began secretly copying illustrations from his father's books and patterns on lanterns in his spare time. However, his secret activity was soon exposed. Once, 2 classmates fought over Feng Zikai's paintings and were caught by the teacher. But the teacher didn't confiscate his paper and brushes. Instead, he had Feng paint a portrait of Confucius to hang in the classroom for students to pay respects, and gave him the nickname Little Painter. This incident greatly encouraged Feng Zikai's passion and confidence in painting. But Feng Zikai truly began to pursue painting as his lifelong career when he went to a normal school and met his teacher, Li Shutong. At 17, Feng enrolled in Zhejiang Provincial First Normal School with excellent grades. This school was one of the few cultural and artistic institutions in China at the time, gathering famous masters. Important figures in Chinese literary history, such as Lu Xun and Zhu Ziqing, were once teachers there. However, Feng Zikai's studies began with fear and aversion. This village boy, away from home for the first time, was unaccustomed to dormitory life, disliked school rules, and had no interest in the education courses designed to train teachers. This continued until he met 2 teachers. One was Li Shutong, his music and art instructor, a pioneer of modern Chinese music, drama, and Western painting. Later a renowned Buddhist monk. We know him for writing the lyrics to Farewell at the Pavilion, outside the long pavilion, beside the ancient road. The other was Xia Mianzun, his Chinese literature teacher. Xia Mianzun was a master of modern Chinese literature and translation. Xia Mianzun's influence on Feng Zikai was mainly in literature. Feng Zikai said Xia personally taught him writing, and he'd always wonder while composing an article, "Is this how I should write?" Would Mr. Xia be satisfied? As a trailblazing giant in China's cultural scene, Li Shutong appeared remarkably humble, always wearing coarse robes, starting and ending classes with bows. If students erred, he'd privately advise them gently, like reminding them not to spit, to speak softly, or close doors quietly. Feng Zikai said Mr. Li never scolded or blamed. His attitude was always humble. Yet every student sincerely feared him, sincerely studied hard, and sincerely worshipped him. Li Shutong's art classes began with life sketching. He built 2 plaster model classrooms and wrote a manual on using them. This became China's first modern art education monograph in Chinese. Under Li's guidance conveying revelation, Feng discovered his childhood observations, shapes, lines, light or shadow, could evolve into profound study. He excitedly said, "I thought these hobbies useless, never imagined my private pastime could become public art." Post-instruction. He reobserved everything, buying wilted cabbages, unripe sour oranges, broken porcelain to sketch. He said after struggling with plaster, the world seemed clear. Shapes, mud patterns, cloud shadows, wall cracks, plants, all spoke to me. Things others deemed worthless held souls to him. This painting joy made Feng neglect other studies, immersing in art stroke by stroke. Li Shutong noticed Feng Zikai's efforts and progress. One evening, Li Shutong told Feng Zikai, "Your painting has improved remarkably fast. I've never seen such rapid progress among my students." Li Shutong usually spoke little and softly, but when he spoke, he was always utterly earnest. These softly spoken, earnest words changed Feng Zikai's life. Many years later, he still recalled this with deep gratitude. From that night on, he decided to dedicate his life to art through painting, a choice he never regretted. The year after Feng studied under Li, Li became a monk in Hangzhou, known as Master Heng Yi. Before ordination, he summoned Feng and solemnly gifted him his handwritten poetry manuscripts. One line read, "In the long night's desolate wind, unable to sleep, how to save all living beings, which heart and soul can I bear?" This was Li Shutong's heartfelt confession, renouncing worldly life to become a monk and better save all beings. Feng treasured these words and manuscripts, resolving inwardly, though his teacher was gone, he'd live like him. Whether intentional or not, Feng's life path almost always followed his teacher's footsteps. Li Shutong had studied in Japan. After normal school, Feng also went to Japan for study. During 10 months there, he studied diligently music, painting, Japanese, English, often forgetting food and sleep. One day in a used bookstore, he found a minimalist comic, Western composition with Eastern brushwork, captioned cleverly, utterly fascinating. This style wasn't popular then, but Feng adored it and began imitating it. He loved painting poetic scenes, a crescent moon with teacups, captioned "After dinner," a crescent moon in a sky like water, a robed figure on a terrace with "Silently alone, I ascend the West Tower." He also enjoyed simple life-based images with plain-spoken captions. For example, a tree behind a wall, a child peeking out with big eyes, captioned, "Fuzzily hiding, a child's dark, large eye appears." He printed his paintings into booklets and sold them so cheaply that they hung in bathhouses and wonton stalls, something Feng Zikai was delighted about. He said, "I hope my paintings hang where people love them, not in art dealers' hands. Even if a cleaning lady feels joy from them, that's a wonderful home for the paintings." These were Feng Zikai's most peaceful years. His career progressed smoothly. Besides painting, he co-founded Kaiming Bookstore and Lida College in Shanghai with Chia Mianzun, Zhu Ziqing, and others. He worked as a music and art teacher. In 1927, influenced by his teacher Feng Zikai, formally converted to Buddhism, becoming a lay disciple. His teacher gave him the Dharma name Ying Xing, infant and walking, hoping he'd walk the world with childlike innocence and purity. After conversion, Feng followed Buddhist teachings, practicing non-killing and vegetarianism earnestly. After some time, he realized more deeply how precious and rare life is. In 1928, he decided to paint 50 comics, urging people not to harm life, as a birthday gift for his teacher's 50th. He called these life protective paintings, hoping to use comics to awaken respect and compassion for life in people. He believed this was the best way to repay his teacher. But Feng's peaceful life didn't last long. In 1932, the Japanese launched the January 28th incident, turning Shanghai into a battlefield. To escape the war, Feng took his wife and children back to his hometown, Shimenwan, where the increased population made the old house too crowded. So he personally designed and built a 2-story house with front and backyards for his family. He named it Yuan Yuan Tang, fate, expressing reverence for life's impermanence, as in turbulent times, a tiny fate can decide life or death. For Yuan Tong's design, Feng emphasized space and natural light, striving for openness and brightness. He said, I believe an upright, bright environment suits my spirit and nurtures children's innate love for truth, kindness, and beauty. Though I spent only 6,000 yuan to build it, even if Qin Shi Huang offered the Epang Palace in exchange, I wouldn't agree. Inside Yuan Tong, the world was beautiful and bright, but outside it was scarred and devastated. After the January 28th incident, Japan's invasion accelerated, turning vast lands into battlefields, with chaos and fire everywhere. The hardest hit were the ordinary working people. During this time, Feng Zikai, living peacefully in Yuanyantong, continuously used his brush to depict ordinary people's joys and sorrows amid war. He began creating comics. He planned to illustrate Japan's invasion history in China, depicting centuries of atrocities since Ming Dynasty pirate raids. Just as the book neared completion, in 1937, Japanese forces occupied Hangzhou. Shimen was bombed, killing over 100, and Yuanyantang was destroyed. Feng squeezed his entire family onto a small boat, fleeing his hometown in panic, beginning a long exile journey. This escape lasted 9 years. Fearing Japanese seizure of the invasion comics would bring death, Feng threw all manuscripts into a river. But he didn't stop painting out of fear. Over 9 years, he continuously published works documenting life with his wife and children, recording what he witnessed while displaced, denouncing war's trauma, and advocating for peace. He drew a mother killed mid-air raid, still breastfeeding, captioned, "Air raid. Bombs dropped on whom?" The baby suckles at her breast, but the mother's head is gone. Blood and milk mingle. He drew a sturdy ship saying, I wish for a great vessel to carry all Shimenwan folks and every being to eternal peace. He also began painting China's magnificent landscapes, vibrant and grand, unlike his earlier works. This expressed his attachment to the shattered homeland. In 1938, Feng Zikai fled to Guangxi. That year, his teacher, Master Hong Yi, turned 60. Feng painted the second volume of life-protecting paintings amid artillery fire. The second volume contains 60 paintings as a birthday tribute. Unlike the first volume, this one was more beautiful. No weapons or slaughter, just a harmonious natural world. Having witnessed war's brutality and displacement's pain, Feng chose to celebrate life's goodness in his art, urging people to hold on to hope, requiring broader vision. Yet, this beautiful style clashed with mainstream discourse at the time. Newspapers often criticized Feng, not crying to save the poor but preaching animal protection. This included his good friend Cal Juren, who was also a student of Li Shutong. Cal Juren said, "The life-protective paintings are utterly absurd and should be burned." Upon hearing this, the usually gentle Feng Zikai angrily severed ties with Cal Juren. He wrote an article stating, "Protecting life means recognizing humans are just one part of all living beings. Final victory doesn't belong to those who use violence against violence and possess strong military power. Even in war, people must uphold a universal principle beyond ethnic hatred, respect, and true love for life." Feng's teacher, Master Hong Yi, received the collection and replied, "When I turn 70, create the third volume with 70 paintings. At 80, make the fourth with 80. At 90, the fifth with 90. At 100, the sixth with 100. Feng felt the immense weight of this responsibility. The perilous times, raging war, uncertain peace, and his exile made life unpredictable. His teacher's request meant a 40-year commitment. He worried about fulfilling it, but couldn't betray such profound kindness. So he replied with 8 characters. My teacher's command I shall obey, meaning as long as I live, I will accomplish it. 3 years after the second volume's publication, Master Hong Yi passed away. But Feng Zikai never forgot his promise to his teacher. In 1949, after arduous drifting, he secluded himself in Xiamen for 3 months to complete the third volume. In 1961 and 1965, the fourth and fifth volumes were published in Singapore. In 1973, during the Cultural Revolution, Feng was sent to a labor farm. He returned home with lung disease and secretly painted the sixth volume's 100 pieces while ill. For the final painting, Feng drew an eel in boiling soup, head and tail submerged but belly arched high to protect its unborn young, because it was protecting the babies in its belly. On this painting, Feng wrote four powerful characters, head and tail cooked, perhaps expressing that even in despair, one must stand tall to guard what they love. After this, Feng's lung disease worsened into cancer and he died in 1975. From his 1928 vow to create the first volume to completing the sixth in 1973, Feng's initial purpose was to repay his teacher, but nearly 50 years of steadfast advocacy elevated the collection beyond their bond, making it a lifelong commitment to life itself. So far, we've traced Feng Zikai's life journey, his childhood studies, and creating the life-protecting paintings during hardship. I want to notice, now let's explore another side of Feng Zikai, the versatile artist's fascinating hobbies. His first love was children. He called himself a child worshiper and adored playing with kids. His comics often featured children, building blocks, playing house, being forced to do homework by teachers. To Feng, children's worlds held infinite freedom. Roofs could be removed to watch planes. Beds could grow flowers to attract butterflies. Railways and train stations could live inside houses. In children's worlds, he found sincerity, joy, and freedom absent in adulthood. He said children are the soundest beings. They see truth, unlike adults blinded by worldly biases and desires. My heart belongs only to four things: celestial deities and stars, earthly art, and children. Feng's second hobby was cats, especially painting them. He owned three cats: White Elephant, Uncle Cat, and Ami. Uncle Cat stood out most. This yellow cat loved sitting on writing paper. Feng said, when Uncle Cat slept, his body looked like a dung pile, perfectly covering the manuscript. Uncle Cat adored crowds. Feng wrote, once a VIP visited. I sat formally exchanging polite greetings, like acting in a play. Uncle Cat jumped on the guest's back. I tried to shoo him away, feeling rude, but the guest praised the cat warmly, turning stiff acting into cheerful chat. Later, Feng mused, cats truly delight everyone, turning awkwardness into warmth, dullness into fun. Beyond keeping cats, Feng loved painting them. Cat snapping near tea drinkers, leaping onto crossed legs during newspaper reading, or watching kids play from rooftops. In short, cats lived alongside humans. To Feng, they symbolized all creatures coexisting harmoniously, reflecting his lifelong belief in human-animal equality, just like his life-protecting paintings. Feng Zikai's third hobby was music. As a pioneer in China's music education, Feng drew comics of Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, wrote books introducing top musicians and Western instruments, edited series on harmonica or piano techniques, bringing Western music theory to China. Educators like Ye Shintao praised his works for opening a window in a closed house to spark musical interest. Behind these music books lay Feng's genuine love for music and proactive experimentation. Since childhood, he loved singing. Saying his patriotism grew from childhood patriotic songs. After meeting teacher Li Shutong, he passionately studied piano. During his 1921 Japan study trip, a key goal was violin or music training, letting Feng experience art's power and find spiritual refuge in chaos. But it wasn't just music. As one of China's earliest editors, Feng published books on literature, architecture, and art, and launched an aesthetics education magazine. She always believed beauty was the best sanctuary for life and soul. Sun Zikai's fourth hobby was drinking. Though he became a lay Buddhist disciple at 30 under Li Shutan's influence, lifelong vegetarian, he never abandoned this Buddhist forbidden practice. And Feng had two drinking principles, preferring Shaoxing rice wine over strong liquor and avoiding drunkenness. He saw drinking as elegant enjoyment, losing control to cursing, fighting, or vomiting betrayed its essence. Despite advocating moderation, Feng did get drunk occasionally. When Japan surrendered, he celebrated with multiple drinking sessions, increasing from 8 liang to 1 jin nightly, joyfully declaring, "If not now, when?" My triumphant joy and bold spirit came from nighttime drinking. Like one mid-autumn festival during exile, his large family finally reunited. Overjoyed, he drank heavily, got drunk, and slept without moon viewing. Just over a month before passing, Feng Zikai still comforted his youngest son in a letter, using wine as reassurance. He said, "I drink a gin of rice wine and smoke a pack daily, reading and writing to pass time. No need to worry." But in truth, his health was dire. Numb arms, persistent fever. This white lie letter conveyed Feng's optimism and his loving comfort for his children. Feng once said, "I revere Master Hongyi because he was a true human being." Becoming one, that was Feng's life pursuit. Throughout life, he acted with boundless compassion, creating pure goodness, using art's beauty to steady his heart amid adversity. All right, that concludes our interpretation of Feng Zikai's autobiography, My Life. See you tomorrow.